Hi there, yep, Great and Glorious Nick Dutch here yet again. Alright, now I want to talk today about sylphs, salamanders, gnomes, undines and fairies. Why do I want to talk about these first? Well, because they're kind of cute and fluffy, and basically it's getting late. I mean, it's nearly 2 in the morning. I might as well talk about something friendly and pleasant first before I do anything a little harder and harsher. Okay. What are sylphs, salamanders, gnomes, and undines? If you go back to occult theory, whether that's from Scandinavian paganism, whether that's from Wiccan paganism, which of course came in its ritual sense predominantly from ceremonial magic, or whether you're a practitioner of ceremonial magic yourself, you will know that there are 4 mythic elements: earth, air, fire and water, which are often read or noted in various different arrangements or organizations. So some say water, earth, fire, air, or whatever, you know. Either way, the theoretical idea is the universe is made up out of these 4 categories, plus an extra one that they call spirit. And of course, spirit can be of various different types, and these various elemental forces can also be used to define spirits of a certain type, rank, order, and so on and so forth. These elements also cover the activities that we do, and can be used to define and describe human mentalities and personalities. There is, in occult theology, deity names for the great leader of the spirits of these various 4 elemental forces, which, if I remember rightly, is the Jinn, who rules over the salamanders and the elemental of fire; Haralda, who rules over the elemental force of air; Nixa, who rules over the elemental force of water; and Gob, who rules over the elemental force of earth. So the earth spirits are called gnomes, the salamanders were the spirits of fire, the undines were the spirits of water, and the sylphs were the spirits of air. The mythology has moved forward with time. So I've seen some videos on YouTube of people saying that when they see a chemtrail up in the sky that's steadily disintegrating, that they actually believe it's a transdimensional being called a sylph, which is being summoned to help protect humankind from the chemtrails. However, the fact that I personally have videoed a lot of chemtrails and haven't seen any sylph activity shows they're not really doing their job well enough. But anyway, let's move away from that, and move away from that mythology to a more down-to-earth and practical application. I mean, these are concepts. They don't exist apart from when you choose to make them seem to exist. You may take from occult theory and occult theology the various symbols of earth, air, fire and water as means of locking into those elements. You may use names or words to be able to communicate or summon these various spiritual forces, and at a later stage I might actually go back to Transcendental Magic by Alphonse Louis Constant and Elias Levy, and read out some of the long, lengthy Kabbalistic prayers that he's got for the way that he recommends the casting of the circle, which is actually quite beautiful, quite prayerful, and nicely gothic and dramatic, which basically, gives me a buzz. I like that. But let's just say that you personally, as an occultist, wish to work with these spiritual forces. What would you do? Well, first you try and work out what you want to try and achieve. You write that down as a statement of intent. You think about the task and the method, the theoretical method of delivery of this task, or how this task is supposed to occur. You then, through your mythological analysis of the 4 elements, you work out which element is appropriate for that. and you then design a ritual based upon that to speak with, appease, or command these spiritual forces to operate. There's different ways of operating with spiritual forces, and this works for deities, it works for demons, it works for elemental forces, angels, a lot. And one of them is you invite them, you summon them in a separate place, you talk to them and you ask them to go and do something. Alright, you could actually exchange something. You could say, like, if I go and make a nice hot cup of tea for my mother, will you go and do something? So I'm doing something for her, will you then go and do something for me? And all of this, of course, in a prayerful state of mind. And the other method, of course, is to command them, and by that you then need, like, names, signs, anything that you can create which gives you the feeling that you are in charge of it, and it will do as it's told. Or indeed, you can become that particular spiritual entity by invoking it into yourself, which can be a very intoxicating experience. I wouldn't necessarily say that I would recommend it or would not recommend it. And that's up to you to experiment with, because it's done through prayerful exercises. Prayerful exercises are, as I've said in my previous videos, the mind-altering technologies of the Western world, and is therefore useful. Okay? It's just a useful way of doing things. Is the result going to be reliable? No, of course it isn't. Is there, I mean, do you get better at things with practice? Well, that's difficult to say. But if you start with the premise that everything you're doing is psychological anyway, then it doesn't really matter. Then, because you've got the stress of trying to achieve something taken away from you, that can help an awful lot. And you can do it for fun. And a lot of the mental intoxication that makes these things work, it does happen when you're, in your ritual circle with your candles of the right color, and you got the right tools on your altar table, and it's all fun and it's all nicely over the top. Alright? But you're still doing it in a reverent and prayerful manner. I mean, that's the state of mind which really works for me. Okay, so that's essentially where it goes. Now, fairies. What are fairies? Well, they're another entity. Another entity that people feel that they can communicate with. They will be spirits of nature. Some people say that they are peaceful, loving nature creatures, but what is a creature of nature? A creature of nature attacks and kills in tooth and claw. So maybe the fairies aren't all that nice, and they're actually little warlike, scary things with sharp teeth. That depends upon how your imagination, or your creativity, or your visualization, or your vision, or your spirit vision, or whatever you want to call it, interacts with that particular concept. And it would be worthwhile to study the various mythologies of fairies so that you can load your mind with them. Or you can just do an astral projection exercise to investigate aspects of nature, and then see where you can go from there. The choice of your method has to be up to you. Alright? But either way, basically they're just extra fun things for an occultist to play with. And I would seriously recommend that you go and play with your little fairies. Alright, speak to you soon.